Welcome back all again. Unfortunately, we're not very lucky with the weather today. But still, it's fine. It's not cold and a bit showery, but it's fine. Before we start, firstly, I'd like to mention some logistical things that we have to make sure that everyone has signed the speaker list, participation list, and so on. Please, if you haven't done that. So we have to do it every day, unfortunately. And after this panel, we would like to go and take a group picture all together. Hopefully that it will not start raining more and more. If it is, then we have to do some other thing. Nevertheless, today we have a great panelists. We had a very interesting discussion at the beginning, early in the morning, and now I think everyone is awake. So now we will have something more precise, something which is going to be presenting from one of the best cybersecurity countries. And the topic is Baltic approach to cybersecurity awareness programs, coupled with a cyber defense lead. And with this, I will present our honored guests. Firstly, Jan Brisaro. He's coming from the NATO CCDOE, so NATO Cybersecurity Center of Excellence in Tallinn, as well as we have his colleague, Mr. Andrew Spada, who is the Chief of Cyber Defense Unit of Estonia. And as well as we have a colleague of mine, we studied together, Ben Ottman. He's at the moment in Finland, and he's actually founder of first NGO in Finland for cybersecurity. Thank you all, and the floor is yours.
Thank you for this opportunity to present, and I believe also that we are becoming stronger together, and we are interested that all the countries in Europe are able to defend themselves. And I would start from the Sun Tzu, and what remarkable things actually said Sun Tzu was that to win the battles you first must know yourself, and then you must know your opponent. And I believe also that this knowing ourselves is forming the very good basis for the cooperation. If we understand how our countries are depending on each other, and this I see also here on the Balkans, that all this infrastructure is actually shared, and the people have to protect it together. And I will present you the small history on the cooperation around the cyber defense in Estonia. So, and this information security knowledge accumulation started even before we regained our independence. The researchers in the Institute of Cybernetica, they thought that the independent country needs the information security, so they started this accumulation of the experience there. And then first this kind of formal cooperation agreement happened on the 98 when the two biggest banks agreed that the information security is not the place for the competition, but it's for the cooperation. And there were 2 points. First was that criminals are the same, so they are attacking all the banks. And the second was that they modeled also the consequences of the successful attack, and they realized that the biggest consequence is the loss of trust in the electronic channels. So all the participants in the electronic banking market will lose. So nobody will gain out of that. So it is the basis for the cooperation. In 2000 happened one significant thing that we passed our digital signature law. This work started on the 94. And the toughest thing there was again finding the cooperation with the lawyers. And we spent 2 years talking to the lawyers, and what they wanted was in the digital signature, one very important thing is time. And they said that we know everybody, we know astronomical time that put it into the law. And we as engineers wanted them actually to put into the law the relative time. And we spent actually 2 years explaining to them what is relative time and how it's useful. Why does it matter? Because if you do the naive way like the lawyers wanted, their system will become too expensive. And in implementing this Digital Signature Act and ID cards that are carriers of the personal keys, then the private sector and government joined the forces and formed one national certification center. In 2003, I would say that 2003, 2004 are the years when the organized cybercrime consolidated. I would even say that those were the time when the cybercrime industry was formed. And the story started in 2001 in Odessa, where a couple of guys met and they started one website. This website was known Carve Plant. By the way, who knows what the Carve Plant is? Who had heard it before? No. Carve Plant was a forum where the card fraud people were exchanging the data and services. And what was the innovation? There have been the forums before also, but what was the innovation was the social feedback. So they created like the eBay or Facebook of the cyber criminals, and by 2004, when Secret Service made the Operation Firewall, when they analyzed the structure of the people on this forum, there were 2,000 people exchanging the fraudulent information, and they saw that the structure is hierarchy. So they thought that they will dismantle this organization by putting the top into the jail. So they did put 26 top guys into jail. But what was the result was that these forums ceased to exist, and this information exchange went to the other forums, and this exchange took the shape of the network. And usually in economy, the networks where the services and information exchange are called industries. That's why I'm saying that Russian-speaking cyber criminal industry was formed in the 2003 and 2004, and it still is very strong. If I read the RAND Corporation report last year about the cyber criminal ecosystem, then Russian language is still lingua franca. So not all the criminals are native Russians, but this is the exchange language. Like in normal businesses, is English. In 2005, we officially started the NATO COE project, and in 2005 we reached another milestone. It was the both were started in 2003. Those first ideas, first internet elections. So we have run the internet election for 10 days. In 2006, we established the national cert, and why we needed it was that this cybersecurity specialist community was a network, and the institutions don't know how to communicate with the networks. So we understood that we need some kind of institution. So we established the national CERT. It started to work. In 2007, we had this big test on the cybersecurity community, and one lesson learned out of there was that the CERT became the bottleneck. So previously, the organization was formed in the way that all this kind of coordination was passed through the CERT, and this 2007 event was so complicated that CERT became the bottleneck. So outcome from that was that to be effective against the network, you have to build also the network organization, not hierarchy. In 2008, we passed the national cybersecurity strategy, and this was basically the lessons learned out of 2007. So you have to effectively counter the cyber attack. We came to this analogy of the collective brain. So you have to educate all the people, rise everywhere the skill level, and also ensure that this communication lines between those nodes that are forming this collective brain is working well. Now to overcome this hierarchy and form better network, we established in 2009 the first cyber defense units within the Estonian Defense League. The rationale behind that was to reuse existing institutions, because creating the new institution is very expensive. So we took the oldest defense institution that we have in Estonia. This is Defense League. The first act of the Estonian government was to establish the Defense League, and then they have the long history of capturing this voluntary will of defense of citizens, and created the branch of it in the cyber defense. And those units were gathered together into one unit in 2011, and our current commander is Andrus Padar. With this cyber defense league, we ran the national cyber defense exercise, Cyber Fever, where we tested the emergency response of the government. The basis of our emergency response is the Emergency Act that the latest big change was 2009, where the massive cyber attack scenario was brought into this, and the levels of the emergencies were clear. So in 2012 we tested it, and we had also for one day the whole Minister of Cabinet of Ministers, and they were discussing one day the cyber. And there were two major lessons out of this exercise. First was that this massive cyber attack will not remain in cyber for a long time. It will give out the different kind of emergencies. So it's clear that cyber defense or cyber emergency response must be integrated into the organization of response of the other emergencies. And the second outcome was that this model where government, in case of the emergency, the government nationalizes some resources and start to operate themselves, them is not working in the information society, and that because you need actually those people also who are able to operate those systems, and your final goal is to have the services and prioritize the services from the national interest. Like in the normal time, the priority is defined by the commercial interest. Now you have to change the prioritization and not actually take the assets to the government. And last year we passed the second national cybersecurity strategy, the main idea of this strategy was that systems fail in two ways. One way is that they are simply failing technically; they are not working, not providing the service. And second way is that people are afraid of using them. They are losing the trust in the system, and they do not use it. Why it's important? Because when people cannot rely on them, then they are not getting this benefits that those systems potentially are offering. And in 2000, now this year we just actually passed our parliament election, so this system is 10 years old. And what we are defending them, and definitely we are defending the Estonian e-lifestyle. We are really dependent on the information systems. In 2010, we made a study also how dependent we are on those systems, and we found that from the critical services that are defined by the Emergency Act, 95% of the services are dependent in one way or another on the information system. Later, we found out that inside this 5% of the systems who declare that they are not dependent, some people simply did not understand the question. And 30% of the services where we had a critical dependence. It meant actually that if the information system has the downtime, then also the service will have the downtime. And 10% of the services have the highly critical dependence. It means that there is no low-tech alternative anymore. That if we lose the information system, we lose the service, and it will stay in this way.
Okay, thank you. It's an honor for me to be here in Estonia to see and discuss the interesting topics about cybersecurity. Next presentation we will view is Mr. Ben Hoffman in Tandem. I will touch the point of view of a practitioner as a police officer, and then it's more close to the academic world. Topics we are going to cover some statements that we believe or not that are related to cybersecurity. Then we proceed the philosophical approach. We discuss a little bit security culture. And I'm going to describe some Estonian initiatives in practice, how to raise cybersecurity awareness in various target groups. And the last topic is some explanation about our unit. What is the Defense League and why we are doing that. Statements or propositions. We probably believe that cyber might be understood and accessed as a tool, but on the other hand, it's a space. And all the other spaces, definitely, at least in military, contain some cyber components that might be vulnerable. It means that there does not exist any field or business which can ignore the cybersecurity issues. As my colleague Jan already explained, some exercises helped us to prove to the top-level decision makers that the cyber world has influence towards the physical world, and it may turn very bad, even disaster situation. One thing that we are believing as practitioners is that end user is one of the weakest points in cybersecurity. We can't guarantee safety using only technical means, technical measures. And let's move forward to the educational part about rising cybersecurity awareness. How did you, who are target groups? One slide is that helps us to describe it is arc of life of human. But I hope you agree that this point of view that those target groups are different and they need some different kind of methodology or way to handle that. Usually, we are concentrating on this criminal, but as a practitioner, I see that we have serious problems how to explain those security issues and even ways out for the elderly people and teenagers who will not believe any other people except themselves. And of course, the last increasing importance is the kids, and they say that. And I'm happy to give the floor. You can use this.
Yes. I'll cover the education part. So if we speak about cybersecurity, we would speak about the security culture. In the country, we need to know what does mean security culture, which is it should be based on education. If we build information security strategy without the security culture, we cannot implement it. We'll have just document, use this paper, nobody use it, nobody understands it. And country nowadays need to adapt to the changes of security challenges, which start from the very early age, from the school, primary school, then secondary school, and university. If you speak about security or cybersecurity, does it mean just making security-related study at the university level? Let's say, for example, in Estonia, there is Master of Cybersecurity. It should also cover other specialty, other people who are not related to security, let's say, who study geography or history or any topic. The cyber should start from the school, from the childhood time, as when our parents teach us, do not talk to a stranger, do not talk to a foreigner, do not take something from someone you don't know. It should apply nowadays on the web, on the virtual world. I will take few examples of what's happening and what has happened before. Film's case that Meet Lucy, a 13 years old girl was chatting and communicating with a guy who was like 40 years old. And this, you can find more information about it online. And I will take Jessica Lenning example, who made suicide because of bullying. Her friends were bullying her at the last.fm website. And lately, I take the Daniel Berry, who also made suicide after he was blackmailed after a video recorded of him from these guys. Like these guys in the Philippines, the group of scammers who target Western people who are able to send money. They record the video of you through Skype, and after that blackmail you. So it doesn't concern only kids, it concerns adults. Adults who are adults, are they the security expert? Of course not. The security expert, they are so tiny category of the society that, but the majority, university teacher or finance people or whatever, they don't have security awareness, and when they communicate over the internet, they don't think much, like they don't really suspect what's behind that. So this group in the Philippines, it was the police was arrested them maybe 2 months ago. It was in the news. There were like 20 people in one room working in cyberspace, working to chat with people and trying to collect information and record video, and after blackmail, asking money. So this education should be implemented from the school level, from the childhood. For that, it would be good to have some workshop for kids in the school, or it would be good to address the kids, to raise that awareness for the virtual world. And kids nowadays, they are sharing everything. In mainly the teenager at Instagram, if you check out, you'll see that a lot of things going on. And mainly, as yesterday and today, the previous presenter mentioned, there should be the kids or teenagers should understand something very important. If you put something online now, you can never ever take it away. If it went online, it's out of your hand anymore. And today, yes, you can put this online. How about tomorrow? So you are kind of restricting your future. So if you do something today, think about what tomorrow. Would you accept that to be online? Today you are just a kid, teenager. You don't do anything important. Tomorrow you can be president. So someone can come back to you, and it happened. A lot of firms, CEO of startup, Snapchat, for example, that he said something about girls or women negative. They got it up like 1 year ago, and he had to apologize because of something said, I don't know, some 5 years ago in a party, or after he was drunk, he published it. So mainly, security should start with awareness and from the school, and should cover all the society, like teenager, kids, also adult. When we visit a website, we don't know what does it mean that a small pop-up is coming or some alert like install the latest update of Java or something. We don't understand what this means. We don't understand. Most of people, they don't understand what is phishing, and they don't understand what does it mean to click or to open even empty email. Security or cybersecurity awareness should start by education, and implementing that in education and citing it in the security policy. An example back to Anos will give example of how Estonia is doing that. So the cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility.
Yeah. Thank you. The kids are quite complicated topic. we as parents or who have experience having teenage children. But it means that the technicians will have trouble when they are trying to educate them. That's one of the major reasons why it's important to do it together. And we have some good initiatives. For example, teachers and workers at the school, they have access to various codes. But some other organizations, they are able to provide the materials or create the content to share. And this project about being wise in internet we had 3 last years was successful. Successful in the meaning of operations. Kids likes learn by doing, or even more by playing. And our organization or our task was to create some games for them.
Get your hands dirty.
Not dirty, but even one party.
Yes.
It brings us behind the desk, and they are interested and available to share. And it will be very interesting to exchange later experience that in your country you have done, and which kind of educational events you succeeded to organize here. Those partners is one example on the slide, but if you are interested more deeply, you can read it on the website. Most of the materials are available in English, and I will not cover them detailed way. One important partner was also the police and border guard board, because police mostly often deals with the reactive measures to solve if something has happened. But it's very good that they are on our boat, even on the stage of prevention. And this effort were very good, and we definitely hope that we managed to save some young lives, not spoil them. Second project or initiative that we had, and we actually take it over from Finnish police, was kind of web constables or web-based community policing officers. The programs are the same, but using the social media channels they were quite successful to get the information what's going on and sending back to the solutions. What to do? It was a private channel to ask advice if some kids like to do it. And this project has a very positive feedback at European level also. It gets prize about awareness programs. And the last example, but maybe you have something to add at this point. Last example of initiative, how to make efforts for security awareness is activities of our voluntary cyber defense unit. Sometimes it's difficult to understand what it is and how it can be that the military organization can help solve civil problems. But in practice, we are not so big nations that can have special units. The key of success is the cooperation and mutual exchange of best practices. And also, the Defense League, I'm going now to explain what it is. If you talk about the cyber security, then it's not the only business of security institutions like police or internal security service. It's also responsibility of our service providers that belongs to the economy pillar. And not less important is the scientific part, different researches, because practitioners may make the wrong decisions because we don't have often time for digging deep enough for understanding the core reasons of the problems. But those four pillars all has important role to play together. And some of the operations are common. In military, we have SIP unit. In civil sector, CERT, police and CCD was mentioned several times before. Let's go now more close to the Estonian Defense League. It's it looks like a military. It looks like a light infantry. If you look at the photos or some public media articles about us. But this is quite close to National Guard. I don't know how about such organizations in Balkan countries to have similar, like a National Guard in Macedonia. Yeah, mostly National Guards are dealing with the traditional weaponry, but cyber is a tool that's possible to use forever, even for criminals, even for army, and we do the same. What's important that Estonians are quite highly motivated for protecting our country because of our history, and it's the figure that how many we have members in. Maybe it's not so big, but 1.7% of our population, including kids and other people, they are members of this unit, this organization. But it's not only military. If we talk about the tasks, this is contains about half of civil-military cooperation activities. Military traditional defense is maybe 1/4 only of the responsibilities or duties of the Estonian Defense League. The second half is dedicated to be available as a reserve, a trained, prepared reserve for granting or establishing internal security if we will have a problem. And cyber belongs also to the sector. And of course, because the military units often have good logistical people, it's important that they can support if we have some other troubles in the civil world. Cyber Defense Unit is one of the subunits that belongs to the Defense League. And we also have about 1.1 or even 1.2% of Estonian information security officials or specialists as our members. This is increasing because we are slightly hiring new people. And also, often we meet that this is their own initiative to find us and to join us. We don't need to invite or ask. Because many people have motivation that they should also make something good for protection of the country. And our unity has the opportunity that you can be a pacifist, not liking to carry the weapon, but still exist means or ways that you can protect your country in another domain, next to the traditional ones. One strong point of the Defense League is the circles of trust, or we can say also networks of communication. Those pillars have their own. Police officers communicate between each other. No? The organization, organized crime, for example, this is quite a common topic for Baltic and Balkan cooperation for many years. Now we can do it more deeply in the cyber. That means that all the pillars contain the networks, but because the Estonian Defence League has members from all the sectors that we have in our society, we can understand it is like a network of networks. In security community, it's critical to have trust-based relations, to know each other. And in ensuring trust, the best way is doing something together, to fight in the same battle. Our organization was established initially like quite close to the club or a think tank, where people wanted to meet each other and discuss their problems and find the solutions. But soon, during the development, we find out that it's quite complicated to involve all of the people in the real cases if we will not define the responsibilities and powers. Because in democratic society, it's critical to have a legal basis and transparency. That's why we have to move more close to the Defence League and establish at the national law, the level of national law, separate dedicated cyber defense unit. But our motto is still the same, as already Jan mentioned. We are here just for that we want to defend the Estonian electronic lifestyle. A short piece of legal act. It must be very clearly defined when and how it's possible to involve our experts in real case, in cyber emergency, for example. And it's possible because we have some special sentences on the legal acts. Those competent authorities that currently have power to invite our experts to help are, of course, the Information Systems Authority that belongs to the economy sector, a completely civil organization, but on the other hand, there are defense forces also. Regarding the current threats that we have recognized in our territory, we have to prepare to be able to react if we will have any worse conflicts. And conclusions. Cyber defense unit is nothing more than one example of the network. Many other countries are doing the similar things, like our Latvian colleagues, our French colleagues, and it will be very interesting to see, because mostly they are doing some aspects differently. We must be available as our major task as a reserve units, well-trained, prepared, skilled reserve units for both civil CERT organization and for civil CERT and military CERT organization. If we are living in a peacetime, then it doesn't matter. Even military dedicated specialists can help to solve crisis in the peacetime. And the lesson learned is that critically important is to organize exercises, because simply having lectures, presentations, it does not work. Participating and making available to play some games has much better result. And legal framework we already discussed. Okay, it's all from my side. Maybe some other colleagues want to add something.
When you want to add something? I'm just speechless. I had so many great information and so great news. I hope that one day we will follow their approach, Estonian approach. However, Jan has brought us a very good milestone, stepwise milestone. And we've seen something what has happened, that they had one and first national cybersecurity strategy, which was first developed in 2008. And then after a couple of years, they're publishing the second one. We're here in the region, we're facing with some countries which are not even having at all any strategy. Then we have seen a very good example, which in the end and in the conclusion, Mr. Father mentioned, that actually exercises are one of the best approach. And I know that the exercises Cyber Fever are happening every year, I guess. They're continuing showing every year by organizing by CCDOE Center of Excellence in Tallinn. And I think that actually there is one going on at this moment. I think, is it correct?
there is actually very many exercises, and if we see also in the cooperation where we are right now, then it's quite clear that we are in the international cooperation, and the European Union is having the very good data, having very good frameworks of having the exercises. Then in the January, I stepped down resigned from the position of the Director General of the Estonian Information System Authority. And last year we had 14 different exercises. So basically more than one per month. So, what is now going on is actually the preparation for the Rock Shields that is coming in April, and this is technical exercise, international technical exercise.
Can you share more technical details? Like, I know that there are a couple of different teams taking a part of this. There are red teams, there are blue teams, and so on. So can you please elaborate more on this in details?
This exercise started in 2008, and this is the competing teams are in defense. The red team or attacking team is one. Beside it, we have the organizers or white team and the head of the Lodges white team. And green team is taking care of the exercise environment, and yellow team is providing us the situation awareness. This exercise is different than the cyber coalition, but is started actually from the tabletop exercise in the way that this is not really a technical exercise. We have the scenario, we know actually the general direction where we should actually go. But as red team have quite free hands, and we cannot restrict any plans of the defenders, so we really don't know what is happening in the exercise. And getting the awareness of the exercise where you have 300 people in the same environment doing the things, and you don't know what exactly is the task by itself. That's we have this non-traditional yellow team.
We've seen an approach of cyber defense league in Estonia, and as Mr. Paller mentioned very well, cyber is a tool, but also cyber is a space as well. So you mentioned there are 1.1% of IT experts. How many in total in your community are people in general? Because if we see Estonia is almost the same population inhabitants as Macedonia. We call them quite twin countries, young countries as well, when we see on the historical perspective. And how can we learn from your approach to implement it not only in Macedonia, but of course how we can implement it in other Balkan region, and as well as how is the interest of Balkan region countries to take a part of this league, and can they join to this league as well?
Actually, we already have one supporting member from Albania.
Oh, yes.
Legally, it's possible that the other nations can join. Of course, exist some juridical conditions and contribute. But you asked the typical questions that I often hear from the journalists: that how many people we have. And I know that the same information is searched by our eastern neighbor. In how big is our nation, how big is our unit, and what kind of capabilities. That's the reason why we are avoiding to say out the exact number. But just for beginning, we get some first positive efforts or results. Only having 40 people. So you don't need to be big in this, because it's organizing.
And I will come back to this idea that the cyber defense organization would be best established in reusing the existing institutions. And when we take the examples of Latvia and France, then they looked into our experience and copied it, and both are totally different. They the Latvian Seven-Star Days has different traditions, and their model of the operation is a little bit different. The French Cyber Reserve, they serve right now as the think tank, and their this kind of role in the defense organization is again different than ours. So I believe that every country should actually look into their best experience and best budget and choose their own way.
Perfect. Now we would like to open the floor for the audience. I know that you all have many questions. As if I continue, I will not end until the end of the day. So please. We need the microphone here in front, please.
So thank you very much for that introductory remarks on the big defense awareness topics, and I think that this is the suitable panel for convenient questions. So last year we had the chance to visit NATO HQ and also Estonia before the Wales summit. So as you mentioned, a number of exercises. Can you share, do you have any progress except the public-private partnership in the area of offensive capabilities development? I told you inconvenient question, but in any way talking about defense awareness, for sure we should take care about the offense. And as our colleagues from Estonia, we have the great chance to visit and have some technical impressions. I'm mentioning in general in the framework. Do you think that the alliance should address the problem from that side? Personal opinion, not the organizational. Thank you.
Yeah. If you look at the NATO structure, then these NATO capabilities are owned by the member states, and it is clear that some NATO member states have officially declared that they have the offensive capability also. From the other side, it's not possible to run the exercises if you don't have the attacking side, and you have to implement it, and also if you're actually hardening your systems, actually you need the pen testers and you need this knowledge. From the other side, if you really want to mount the offensive operation, then this will become heavily the intelligence operation. You need very good understanding what kind of processes and what kind of systems you are attacking, and you also need the ability to measure the effect and to plan ahead also. So I would say that even if you have those kind of technical capabilities to attack, it doesn't mean that you have the fully functional doctrine and the capability to mount the massive cyber offensive operation. But what I can see that discussion is moving in this way that it might be reasonable also to do this part also. Not even to use it, but even to understand, because our opponents definitely are building also the cyber commands, and if I look at the Ukrainian situation, then I saw actually the Russian side a very big change in the command. And where was the biggest change was that we had also some part of the attacks, and how the attacks were terminated. They were terminated very sharply, so the resources were actually removed to the other places. And it means that their command and control of the cyber capabilities is improved.
I completely agree with the point of view that Mr. Piesel just explained. But I would like to add that NATO has declared that they are not preparing or having any common policy for offensive activities. This is led by member states or member nations.
Yes, please. Okay, that's right. Yes. No worries.
Thank you very much for inspiring presentations. Have a question. It's addressed to Mr. Prisau, but of course, anybody else in the panel can reply. I mean, I'm also from a country which is which will hopefully have a cybersecurity strategy. But the big challenge is to make this issue an issue of priority to main stakeholders, to main political stakeholders in the country. In Estonia, this obviously happened after the 2007 incidents, and this was, I suppose, trigger for politicians to understand, okay, this is important. We have to dedicate some effort to prevention. So, because we have seen that the consequences can be serious. So I was wondering, do you have any sort of empirical research or data, something that could support cause of those addressing political decision makers in our countries when arguing that cybersecurity is something that needs to be addressed? Unfortunately, and I'll finish with this, we've seen that also in our countries, elites react, well, they react to consequences. So we started thinking about, in Serbia, for example, about upgrading our flood relief and emergency management system only after we were hit by floods last year, which were catastrophic. So how to prevent that from happening in cyberspace? And could you give us some ammunition for that? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. And this awareness is really hard thing to do. And the passing between this communication between the specialists on the cybersecurity and managers is extremely hard because their motives on talking about the things are totally different. The engineers know actually the vulnerabilities. They want more funds actually to build the better systems, and in the same time, the managers, they want to optimize the use of the funds and claim that all the problems are managed. In practical, the best these kind of best communication tools have been the exercises. In different forms. One was this national level exercise. The other thing that we did in the Information System Authority were going through the most important critical service providers, and we have this risk reporting obligation, and we ordered the pen test to them, and then actually took this technical data and translated it to the business terms, actually what it means actually to their business, and then gave the report gave the presentation to the management of different companies, and we always received in 2 weeks the substantial change of the budget. So this is the way how managers communicate back that they understood, and to the point that 2 years ago, those managers of the critical infra, they came back to us and started to say us how in the government we should regulate them. So quite clearly they understood. And the very good other way to use or frameworks to use is this European NIS framework or NIS framework, because this is the stating actually the baseline level of the member state capabilities and formalizes the communication also between the member states. In this way, you can introduce to the administration what other countries expect from you. Now, if we take it is really the baseline. Because I know that from about Estonia and Netherlands, we analyzed this late actually that we have to do at this directive, and the only thing that we have to introduce was this European reporting, and that's it. We already had all those baseline requirements satisfied. So this MIS directive, to my understanding, is not defining very well actually this baseline, what the contract should do.
Yes.
Are those reports publicly available that you made reference that you gave a presentation?
No.
Yes. Even the strategy entirely is not available as well, sir.
My question relates to the social defense league. It's extremely interesting model in my view. Understand that at this point you rely to a great extent on the enthusiasm of the people, the citizens, and their readiness to protect the country. But at some point, maybe you would be interested to guarantee that certain capacity that comes from the, let's say, civil society will be available when you need it. Then how do you involve these people? Do they sign some sort of contracts? Do you pay them some money or not? And do you establish some administrators' rules of engagement, things that they can do, things that they cannot do, in particular, to make sure that some young guys don't decide to attack a target, Krasnoyarsk, power stations, without the state knowing.
Okay, very good question. Yes, again, thank you for it. Motivation is always tricky business regarding the volunteers. And okay, despite they have some power in the legislation, it will not work as good as positive motivation factors. What we can offer is to convince them, to explain them that if you become a member, you will get access or ability to participate in interesting events. You can rise or develop your own knowledge and skills if you are participating at our exercises or training events. And also, it's quite important to explain it to the employers because this is mutual benefit. If a commercial company will send or accept that his worker will spend some time at the Defense League, he knows that they get better specialists back. Because inside of these communication networks or exchange networks, we definitely share to each other our best practices and the knowledges. But of course, there does not exist any universal method to motivate participation. Of course, we can have used some kind of candies or booths, for example, ticket to a conference. But definitely, we are avoiding to pay money. It will create more trouble than benefit if we start doing this. All these volunteers must be based on positive attitude and approach and some kind of good values. Jan, of course, can add a lot because Jan is also a founding member of our self-defense unit.
Yes, and this motive in our country is volunteer-based, and we have this culture of doing the volunteer defense actually in the defense league. So we use, and it's clear that giving the orders to the volunteers is actually a tricky task. They are very picky actually. If you are giving actually them the stupid order, they will say it right away. And but there are some different motivations also. If you look into the Latvia, then they have a different. And from the other side, actually, that how to prevent them using actually the authorities. Again, the Cyber Defense League unit members do not have the independent authority to act. The authorities are belonging to the government institutions or not the other institutions, and they are providing the professional help. So they are running under the authorities of competent agency. Not like for example police. There is one institution like the helper police where these people are assigned to the real policemen, and they are acting under the authority of the policemen. Yes, and yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Any further questions? Yes, please. We have a couple here. So by the time we get the microphone, I will ask Ben, because I thought that we forgot him. He's still here. I've been heard that actually Finnish government is working on a cybersecurity strategy. So could you please share a couple of notes, how is, when is, and how all these days started, please? Thank you. And then we will go with the questions. Sorry.
Finland was not one of the first countries. Maybe Estonia was the first to start, but Finland jumped in and they published 1st of January 2013 the first cybersecurity strategy document. This document is very short, only 13 pages, just 13 pages, and it's considered as the best of the world. You don't need a long, as the information security policy, you don't need a long document that the employee cannot read it and cannot use. You need something short as umbrella and allow others to act according to their situation. So the Finnish cybersecurity strategy has main document, which is 13 pages, and a dossier background explaining more. Finnish cybersecurity should be the word forever strategy by 2016, and why is that? Mainly by implementing it. And as you know, if you know, the Finnish network is the cleanest in the world, and one of the main challenges while building cybersecurity strategy is how to make it happen if you don't have enough resources, and that mainly the solution to cooperate between the government and the private entity and private organization.
I already took a part of the question that I'm now asking. Thank you for extremely interesting presentation. I believe for everyone from this region, because this is completely a topic, and here as professionals, academics, we face every day with such problems. So I have a question of legal and policy framework. If you could give us both experience in both countries, on how is the legal framework good? Is it better to have a law on cybersecurity, or maybe have a cybersecurity aspect in every different law that works? Or maybe some other acts that are helping the cyber strategy and the action plan. How can we make it effective? Because in the Balkans we face with two main challenges. One is when we have no documents, like that's currently going on for my country. And another case is when we have 200 documents and they're not enacted. Especially that goes with the memorandums of understanding and cooperation. There could be more than 250 documents that are signed and ratified on the Balkans, but the cooperation is still not really effective, especially in the field of security. And the other question will go actually with the general problem that we have, which is your suggestion, because as far as I have read in the college, we have all the same problem about them. The teams for cybersecurity response are underequipped, and we are not, we don't have that kind of educational culture and educational background to prepare people for such responding. I mean, lucky we get Pedra, it has Estonian degree, but I believe we should find another way to multiply somehow. And the third question, the last one, and the lawyer will is well, defense, because the topic is also cyber defense, and defense is something that I feel like more military. If you could give us a short intro of the idea of cyber war and cyber warfare, because this is a completely open dilemma. Let's be politically correct in that manner. If is the Estonian, especially cyber defense strategy, addressing cyber warfare, and if that's publicly available, at least for speaking here, in which cases this an action can happen? I'm asking from a legal aspect, from the use of the law aspect. Thank you.
The best source of this legal aspect of the cyber war is Tallinn Manual. Yeah, so it's out, and now Michael Schmidt is preparing the.
It actually already got published, but it still goes in line with general.
Yeah, this is actually wartime, the cyber in the wartime. And what Michael Schmidt is doing right now is Balkans 2, that is the pre-war state. And they are gathering the experts and getting this information together. First note, of course, is that documents do not do the operation people do. And if you see the Balkans also, then this Albanian program on the cyber security is very comprehensive and very good example. So here is also things happening in the good manner. And second question about this, whether you should have the separate law. In the beginning, we really thought in the Information System Authority that we should implement the hooks in the different laws. And last year alone, we changed more than 10 different acts. So we need the special powers and whatever. And you must actually implement the cyber law in all those. But from the other side, we started actually to think about the special law about the governance of the IT and cybersecurity also, because you must also gather some resources. Like one actually politician from the Britain, Rory Stewart, once asked me that, do you have to do the cybersecurity in the local, or you have to centralize it? Which way it's correct? And my answer to that is that cyber defense is about defending the processes, and the battlefield is complexity. And you have, the first thing that you have to do actually to where you have to defend them, you have to defend them in the place where those processes happen. And what you can centralize are the special skills and special resources that you don't need every day. Now, like the third, decentralizing the communication. So you must know those people, you must have these communication networks, and if everybody starts to establish when the incidents occurs, it's too late. Also, some kind of packet washer machines, the digital forensics, those are not the things that you need every day. And those things actually then should be centralized. And in general about these strategies, one additional remark is about what I consider the best cybersecurity strategy is actually defense strategy. Is British defense strategy, the strong Britain in the uncertain world. It's quite short, and it doesn't talk so much about the cyber, but it talks about the modern society and how to defend it. And this is basically the essence of the cyber defense. Thank you.
If you said some country in the Baltic they don't have documents, some they have 200 documents. I would advise if you could check the Finnish model of that. They make one document, and each domain or topic, one paragraph in that document. It's a big document, but it's covered all, but in one single document.
That's a strategy or no?
No, for like covering the different. Say, do you have many policies? We have for your question. Yeah, the Finnish, check out the Finnish model, helps of that.
I would like to add some points of view to the first question about the legislation and system of clearance. Russianese people are saying that sleep well having only a few pillows. But giving advice for in this field is almost impossible without knowing the nation's culture, because the legislation and legal system this contains the constitutional core values. Probably the solution that works in our region will not easily fit to the Balkan area. they need to research properly, but it's good advice definitely to have as less as possible different legal acts. And that once we have defined it and we use 10 years, it must be developed continuously, maybe every year, but regularly. It's like streaming river.
Any further questions? Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. I'll try to be brief there. So I'll try to bring you back a little bit to your education efforts and what you mentioned, Mr. Otman, and to some extent, Mr. Father also, because I find both very interesting and very important. Now, my idea is that if you could elaborate a bit more. There are a lot of questions related to this. I mean, okay, for instance, how old are kids when you start working with them? Do you have, for instance, some sort of agreement with the Ministry of Education? Will you include your efforts in curriculum, regular curriculum, or you try some sort of workshops, as you mentioned? Then do you also work with parents? Because this is also very important. You need to have parents understanding whether their kids have this internet hygiene. So there are all, I mean, is this a sort of comprehensive campaign, an effort, or you do it ad hoc and then trying depending on the project money and stuff like this? So I find this all very interesting. If you give time, you can elaborate a little bit more. Thank you.
In short, I'll answer the practical side, the legal you may be so if you have a kid at what age you teach him, like, don't talk to a stranger or don't take something from a stranger. It's applicable also for the standard word. So the main point of having a security culture is to teach kids, or to have it like obvious, to have like something like daily. It's like in daily reaction or daily having that together, always to those do and don't regarding the security. It should become natural, not to think about it like, okay, the same in information security in a company. Let's say, don't share your password or lock your computer. For the kids also, it should be same. But of course, the kids' character is different. We cannot put so much technical detail; they will not understand. But our kids nowadays, they are better than us playing with the devices, right? So they sometimes maybe install new application that it will grant more access to some malware. So awareness. Kids should understand what does it mean that and what can do. You need, before giving him the device, to understand what may happen if he does something.
I would like to add that charts can sometimes be used as an additional resource to help us convince the parents regarding understanding of cyber threats and cyber security. But of course, it depends. But what is the problem probably in our very speedy life? Often parents don't have time for dealing with kids. Simply being together and doing something together, it helps to explain the threats, to play that role together. The cyber is not so specific.
We have run different campaigns in Estonia. We started actually teaching how to use internet, and then from 2005 we started teaching also how to behave securely in the internet. And one actually this kind of outcome was that people are learning from the people of their own age, and the very good connection is between the children and grandparents. The parents actually learn nothing from the kids, and kids learn nothing from the parents. This connection between the grandparents actually works. I don't know why it's simply that. And the other thing that might be notable is the e-school. Now we have implemented this automation or electricization of the school communication when they have the schedules up and home tasks and notes and whatever they have in the electronic format in the network. And also kids can log into the system and they can see actually what the parent and teacher are talking about him. And this is also one of his actual experience that when he learns actually how to use the ID card, that it really does change something. And they can learn actually that if they don't actually see what parents and teachers are talking, then something actually can happen without their control. So they get this kind of first experience actually how the information system can really affect their life.
Thank you all. I know that we still have a couple of questions, but we can save that for the lunch because I know that our stomachs are starting to talk. Nevertheless, and of course we have to take a picture in the end. I'm very grateful to the panelists. We've touched so many questions, so many important things. First of all, we understood that actually awareness is hard to do. And then I hope that Balkan region will take the approach of Estonia and Baltic countries will take it as take the lesson learned approach and share the best practices. Emphasizing Jan and Mr. Pado, they emphasize that please reuse the institutions, which is quite important. Then, of course, when we talk about security culture, do exercises and share examples in education, because actually through examples, kids and different levels of age will have understanding. And finally, is the community and how to establish a league or a group where we can share and have communication with not only private, public sector, but of course having a multi-stakeholder approach with civil societies and so on. Very good note what Mr. Priselu mentioned was best cybersecurity strategy is actually defense strategy. And as they opened the panel with a very great strategy thinker, Sun Tzu, he says, the opportunity to secure ourselves against defeat lies in our own hands. But the opportunity of defeating the enemy is provided by the enemy itself. Thank you all very much. Thank you for the panelists again, and have a great lunch.